Good evening and happy Thursday. It's time for the Collegiate exclusive podcast, episode 3 of season 2. We're a couple days late. That's my bad, but it's all right because that puts us closer to the CRL Open qualifiers happening on Sunday for us to preview with a good idea who all's playing in it. But right now, TJ, first of all, how you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. Literally fresh out of class. You couldn't get me any sooner. So I'm just glad that with, Bepic here is taking on a new job. I'll let you talk about it if you want to, but we're both getting very busy very quickly. So in the meantime, just glad we can still make these episodes happen.
Yeah, I've been streaming a lot recently. Pretty much everyone in the chat probably already knows about the coffee shop manager job that I'm working now. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to be traveling to lands. We got several coming up this semester to keep an eye on. No real developments for a lot of the lands except for the TCS Tri-Cities Slam land. Those qualifiers wrapped up. Queen City Clash wrapped up as well. So we'll be going over all of that in a little bit. But we do have CRL to talk about. And as it stands, the brackets are not out, but we can have a look at the teams that are competing. Right now there are 212, so it's 4 pools of potential qualifying teams. So about 53 teams per pool at the moment. I expect that to get up around 64, honestly, as we get closer. Oh, no, wait, registration's closed, isn't it? It closed. Yeah. Closed yesterday, so never mind. Yeah, 53 teams per pool, and that is final. 2 teams qualify there, and once I do some cropping, TJ, I'll have all the teams up on screen because there are some notable absences.
Well, I mean, and we're going to talk a lot about those teams and the effect they're going to have on the rest of the bracket. I mean, I've even been talking to a lot of my friends on teams in the top 32 and the top 16 who are now, I mean, really seeing mental changes in their team dynamics now that some of these contending teams are going to be gone. Now, granted, for those of you who are not familiar with who those teams are going to be, it's a lot of the Power Esports Conference teams because they are all actually going to be in Hawaii. And then there is also we're going to be missing Davenport Red and Akron Gold. We're going to be missing both the B teams. Akron Blue will still be competing. Davenport main team will still be competing, but we're going to be missing those two alongside the Power Esports teams. But it's a lot of big names that are going to be missing.
Yeah, and that's product of the delayed announcement for CRL, and we've talked about that. I mean, plenty. That's honestly the biggest negative of this new revamped format, the new and improved format for Collegiate Rocket League. But we've still got some heavy hitters that will be competing. I mean, St. Clair Green is in here. This isn't the main Maryville team, but Maryville is here as well. Who else we got? There's the Akron Blue roster. I actually didn't catch why Akron Gold is gone. Do you know why they're not playing, TJ?
I had originally thought it was because of the LAN event that Davenport was competing in, but if that is not true, then I am going to follow up with my sources right now. So you're going to have to give me a second.
All right, that's cool. Because I know Davenport Red, they play in the GLIAC. It's and which I don't think that would be the same conference that Akron competes in, but you never know in esports who's competing in what. But you've also got George Mason up in here, definitely a potential contender. LCU, we actually get to watch play because I don't know what Lubbock Christian's playing in right now. I can pull up my my spreadsheet to make certain. They've got NACE, but I don't think they've played any real series in NACE quite yet. Ole Miss looking good recently as well. A strong end of the fall, good start to the spring as well. There's Davenport Black. Watched them last night play in the NECC. We've got the Concord boys. Should be a shoe-in right up there with Maryville and St. Clair. And then Oklahoma Christian, Wichita State. Now this is a team that I am excited to watch, TJ, because they got to prove some stuff.
They like to talk. I mean, we love Boone, love Knight. Knight is as humble as they come. Boone is not, and that's not a bad thing. I really do love the kid to death. But also, they've had some major roster changes that I think came with a lot of higher expectations that they haven't been able to really meet, even though this team does get invited to lands. This team does get invited to show themselves. Yeah. Unfortunately, they just haven't seemed to find the room just yet. Also, I will very quickly correct. Akron Gold actually will be able to make the time and will make it in time for qualifier 1. So all 3 Akron teams will be represented. The only kind of like Northeastern teams, I guess, that we're going to be missing in terms of non-Power Esports Conference is Davenport Red.
All right. Yeah, that makes sense. I have heard as well that Baylor does intend to play. But real quick on the Wichita
Yes,
State
they do.
point, Aqua Exo will be in the starting lineup now. I don't think this is a correction that we've gone through yet with regards to our roster conversation, but Wichita State have given that third starting spot to Aqua Exo over Mason. Boone was telling me that Aqua Exo's B plus, Mason's B, and they also just like what they're seeing out of Aqua Exo, and so he'll be playing alongside Boone and Knight right there. And so small change for Wichita State, but they still got to prove themselves because that core of Boone and Knight still need to show us some real results. But we got Fisher Navy too. I'm excited to see what comes out of Fisher Navy because that's 2/3 of the last semester's Fisher roster plus Tallybird, who is the highest ranked player on that team. So yeah, they lose Royales, but they could still maybe pull some upsets in the best of 3 section, maybe a couple of best of 5s here and there. Columbia, though, I mean, we've talked about this Kazi move, TJ, but it's time for them to prove it because I don't think they played but one of the CRL Opens last semester, and now they get a real shot to take some big scalps.
And this is also probably the most talented Columbia roster ever since Cam led this team to a big win about, what was that, 3 years ago? Something like that. So I'm really excited to see Columbia potentially back on top, especially representing kind of I don't want to say like the West/North, like whatever you want to call them. Like they represent a very minor region that doesn't seem to have too many wins. And yeah, and Missouri, like with all due respect to Missouri, as in the major university, they haven't had a lot of success either in many years. So I'll call them the West just for the sake of it. I'm really excited to see how they get to represent not only that entire side of CRL, but also with a new look roster. And then I'll add on to Fisher Navy as well. That's my boy Pedro. That's Press, who's going to be coaching that team. I think this is the most talented team that he has been able to work with in a CRL standpoint, normally because he always works under Stolen, who coaches the main Fisher team. So I really do think that there's a lot top to bottom that this team is going to surprise many players, and I'm really intrigued to see how they perform.
West Virginia up here as well. Cumberland, I think, kind of pushing themselves back into contention with a couple of big wins recently. Indiana could be a sleeper team too. And we've got a ton of teams actually. I'm gonna keep going through this a little bit faster. Here's the main Fisher roster. We got University of Georgia back there. Hold on, there they are, right next to Maryville. 2 top teams in the brackets. Excited to watch deep runs for both these guys, but Maryville. Also representing that Missouri region, and I can't wait to see this squad in action outside of an RLCS context.
Yeah, I forgot they're in St. Louis. I'm not gonna lie. So I guess my point about Missouri, you can just forget I said that. But no, Maryville absolutely should be a shoo-in, not only to potentially be the best team coming out of this weekend, but I think at the bare minimum they're gonna look top 3. I'd be shocked if they drop a game.
Okay, well, hopefully someone steps up and contests them, but they probably are going to be the top seed. And we don't know who the seeding committee is made up of completely, but we'll see how they end up seeding. Leslie here, Bruton, Parker, Orange in this conversation too. Good teams that in bracket play. I'm excited to watch. We always get a couple of squads that'll usually pop up out of nowhere and make a couple of deep runs, and these brackets just are kind of made for that. Like it's a Sunday early afternoon on Sunday, and you've got squads that are hungry and grinding that you may not really know about. Cleveland State probably in that conversation. St. Clair Gold not really in that conversation of not knowing about them, because you definitely should at this point. But I think that's a squad that really should be making some runs here.
I mean, you could go on and on and on about the teams who are going to be top 32, top 48 contenders. Like, losers bracket is going to be absolutely miserable for everybody involved. But there's also some teams who don't really showcase their talents that often who are going to get to play. And I'm glad you clicked on them at the given moment. So you passed Northern Illinois, the main team with Hawk, Storm, and Hertz. That team is going to be really fun to watch. But then also you pull up what the most obvious pick here, the Tennessee retirement home roster who took down Northwood in a best of 3. I mean, we're going to talk predictions in a little bit, but this is an immediate, like, an immediate alarm that all these teams who are going to try and contend, they should have on their roster, or like on their radar, I should say.
Yeah, I mean, UTK retirement home, like, I don't know how much Shaka has hopped off of Arc Raiders and is actually grinding the game right now, so I don't know if I would still consider them like a top 32 team contender, but they could probably surprise someone, and that remains to be seen. But more good teams as we go along. Like, look, this is just so stacked. 212 different teams across the CRL landscape looking to prove themselves this weekend. One of two qualifiers, by the way. First one is on the 15th. Second one is the 28th. So they're not both Sundays. The first one is on a Sunday. Second one is on a Saturday. So everyone, make sure you know that. You're not just assuming that it's going to be Sunday and then 2 weeks later on the next Sunday as well. But TJ, I mean, while we're talking CRL, I mean, we've both got, I think, a pretty similar top 8, if not, we've got the exact same top 8. And I'm wondering, we have all of our top 8s competing this weekend. Do you think that all 8 of our top 8, I'm going to list it off real quick for everyone listening. Do you think all top 8 make it? So that'd be Maryville, Winthrop, West Virginia, Concord, Baylor, St. Clair, Northwood, and Ball State. Do you think they all qualify for league play this weekend?
I don't see a world where these teams struggle. I mean, now granted, there is a few new look faces that I think I'm a little concerned about. Like, for example, is there a world where maybe a new look Ball State tumbles for one series, or maybe a new look St. Clair struggles for a series? I think those are conversations you can have. I would even go as far to say that if Northwood has Tennessee in their bracket, they're not locked in at all either. No, like, from an all seriousness perspective, I think that all of these teams are locks. The only one out of my entire top 8 that I will put a slight warning label on is Northwood. I'm putting a warning label on Northwood right now because they took a huge step backwards. A lot of these other contending teams have taken minor steps backwards or planned steps forward, like in Ball State's case. That's a planned step forward in their eyes. From the St. Clair perspective, maybe they took a step back, but they still have a top-level European talent. And with all due respect, I know Kev Dog's in chat, and I'm sorry, Kev, but with all due respect, you cannot compare Drewy to Creams. And Drewy showcased really high-level talents last semester, don't get me wrong. But if they get a bad pull of maybe a peaking OC, maybe a peaking Fisher, the seating committee could do some things that could really screw a team over. And I'll even say this, if it's a Northwood Fisher 8 and 9 seed to battle for an upper bracket spot, it's not a lock. It's absolutely not a lock. So out of the top 8, Northwood's my asterisk.
Okay, so just Northwood. I mean, I think, honestly, you could place asterisks on a lot of these teams. I think, Concord just lost to the new St. Clair team, who at the same time I think could be a squad that maybe trips up, because St. Clair, they had an upset loss to Cumberland recently, and Cumberland looked really good. And you got Fisher, Oklahoma Christian, Cumberland, Syracuse. Oh, actually, he won't be playing, but next qualifier, disregard that. Kennesaw State, Davenport. These are teams that on probably like a 55-45 odds sort of percentage, I think, could be beating squads in the top 8. So yeah, I'm right there with you. I don't even know if 7 out of 8 make it. I think we probably see 5 or 6 of the top teams make it. And looking at chat real quick, a couple of good points have been brought up. One, Shaka is on 40 past 2, which is actually really good for him. So maybe UTK retirement will actually have a shot this weekend. But the question that I would like to discuss, TJ, something that BK brought up and that we were kind of talking about in the colleague analyst chat this morning. What do you think about, it's Baylor and Boise that are trying to play from Hawaii this Sunday, and I know BK is against that for the fact that it could screw up a bracket should the ping situation be too bad, but I've heard it's about 100 ping to central servers from Hawaii on good internet. Mind you, I don't know what their venue is going to be like, but what are your opinions on Baylor and Boise trying to play this weekend?
BK is going to hate my take on this because I'm not going to agree with him, unfortunately, but I'm going to try and make things equal as I can here. If they are still playing on central servers and they are within, in my opinion, if they are within 150 ping, that is fair. I have seen teams play major collegiate Rocket League tournaments on worse. I watched my own Concord guys. I watched Crispy play on 160 ping to make a colleague grand final. And it was not something that ruined the bracket. It was not something that made us a slew worse. Now, granted, that's one player versus all three. I understand that argument. That's completely fair. But with Baylor, and teams aren't going to want to hear this, Baylor on 150 ping, unironically, is still probably top 10, without a doubt in my mind. You could even argue maybe top 8 without a doubt in my mind. Now, when you get to a Boise State, a team that is pretty much on the line, in my opinion, in terms of who's going to make it and who's not. I think they're one series away from making it or not. Like, if you were to make it a Swiss, they'd go to round 5, game 5 every single time. So I understand the arguments for those teams, but then where I draw the line, and this is where me and BK differ in chat here, is that BK mentioned that they should be punished if they do DQ. I don't think that's fair to say, unless that if CRL reaches out to them and says, we are aware you're going to be playing in Hawaii, are you committing to play these matches to the best of your ability? And as long as that is attempted, then you got to give them benefit of the doubt, unfortunately, because you cannot ban them from competing in this qualifier. That's not on the table at all, in my opinion. So you have to let them play, and these schools have the money, they have the resources to give their students the best chance to compete as best as they can in 2 of their biggest events of the year, with their major tournament in Hawaii and then qualifiers for the biggest league in all of Collegiate Rocket League. So you have to let them try, and I don't see any other answer around that.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily a very big deal either, because, I mean, they should be playing to the best of their ability, and at the same time, these teams are being punished, which they're being punished already by having to play on high ping at an event that they kind of have to go to for their school. Like, these programs are juggling, having to get their guys a chance in CRL while also attend this LAN that I'm sure is a huge marketing ploy for these esports programs. And so CRL was announced 2 weeks ago, less than 2 weeks ago. And so I think that this is wholly a situation that falls on the shoulders of those that made the decision to push back the CRL announcement or not have it ready until less than 2 weeks ago. And at the same time as well, if we're talking about an undeserving team making it, that undeserving team, like if we were to use my rankings as seeding here, Baylor would be playing against, okay, well, Syracuse is a bad example, but Syracuse is my 12 seed, and so it would be like a Syracuse-esque roster. We'll bump one down to Kennesaw State. That would be the undeserving team that would be making it if this squad is out of the picture and seeding is followed. And so I don't think necessarily that that's as big a deal as you want to make it out to be. And so I think this is like kind of the least of our worries this weekend.
We have to wait till we see the seeding. I mean, because BK's got some fair points, but they're all seeding based at this point. And again, like, I know a few select people who are involved in the seeding. They are great people, but there are obviously some bad apples in that tree because they've done poor before. So at this point, we just have to wait and see. And whatever happens, happens. All these teams can do is bring their best. And if you play a top 8 team on 150 ping, or you play a Maryville, good luck.
Yeah, that really does suck for whoever ends up pulling like the 16 seed in that Maryville group, because I think Maryville honestly is the only team that is absolutely 100%, 1000% a lock from their RLCS results, their experience as a trio. Like even Winthrop could have an off day, and they haven't been. I don't know about their practice regime, but like they've yet to play a series with Garrett in Nace. It's been Phantom in both of the 2 series so far, and so I don't know if any team is. Maybe West Virginia is safe at the moment with how good they've been looking. But that's is that all we got when talking about CRL with the brackets not really being out? We can't really lay down predictions because we don't know the brackets.
The only other issue is like we're going to be missing Michigan State, who's a contending team, I believe.
Yeah,
aren't they going to be at the Power Esports Conference event?
Yeah, Michigan State and Syracuse are the teams that aren't going to be playing.
And they're not even going to be trying. They're not even going to try to play. So it's going to be a really interesting conversation going into Sunday, which is also worth mentioning for anybody who is a fan. Everything is happening on Sunday. This is not a 2-day qualifier.
Yeah.
So make sure that you go enjoy your Valentine's Day plans, whether alone or with your significant other, and then tune in Sunday.
I made that comment last night on stream, and pretty much everyone in chat was like, you really think that we have a significant other on Valentine's Day? So I think a good chunk of the CRL fans will be safe. But I digress. We'll talk more about that. I'll be streaming on Sunday. It'll probably be around 1 p.m. that I jump in, maybe 12:45 because I'm coming straight from work. And I get off at noon Central Time. Sorry, I'm saying all this in Central Time. So yeah, that'll be when I start my coverage. So I might miss a couple of the sicko best of threes that we love to stream early on. But that's CRL, and I'm really looking forward to it. I love these long bracket days. I love when we get to the end and you're one spot away, and we're getting like top 16 matchups finally outside of a NACE best of 5, and I mean we've gotten the occasional NECC best of 7 so far, but like this is legitimately like top of your resume if you get wins here.
Yeah, and again, like no team, like maybe one team gets a fraud bracket, maybe. But even then, like we're at a point of CRL where there's 16 spots, and so no matter how easy it is on this Sunday or maybe the week after, there's no guarantees. There's way too many teams to play, way too many play styles, way too many dynamics and skill levels to worry about. There's way too much that can go wrong for these teams to take anything lightly. So we'll just kind of wait and see.
All right, well, make sure you follow the Collegiate Exclusive Podcast on Twitter at COL Exclusive Pod. We'll be doing as much live coverage as we possibly can. As I was doing some live coverage last night, and TJ, I don't know if you got to catch it, but we had ourselves a pretty big primetime matchup on Wednesday Night Lights yesterday. Davenport and Leslie. They go all 7 games, and it's going to be a terrible crop as per the norm. But look at them right in the middle. Leslie Davenport.
Whoa.
This was the series of the night. Davenport goes up 3-1 against Leslie here. And look at these game scores, by the way. Davenport was playing all-out aggression. It was absurd how forward all 3 of them were playing constantly. And through these first 4 games, they were essentially, Leslie was only essentially scoring when Davenport would get too aggressive and give up an open net or a strong counterattack to the Lynx. And then next 3 games, Collegiate and the boys go absolutely nuclear. They start defending the Davenport passing plays and mechanical solo plays from Cam and Brock, and they go on a tear themselves. It was an unbelievable best of 7. They come back from being 3-1 down, and these 3 freshmen, dude, they beat my number 11 team in CRL.
I mean, Leslie have always in NECC had a great run. I mean, even they beat Northwood even last semester.
Yeah,
so
that was their only win. That was their only win.
Well, even with and without NECC, they've had good results. And I think one of the biggest what ifs of last semester was Leslie having to leave DreamHack Atlanta early. Yeah. Like that was a huge what if in terms of how they would have potentially performed in that event. Because we know if they play as good as this, for example, they can win lands. They can really make a name for themselves. And who knows if maybe we start to find a new, maybe land dominant or offline dominant team. And granted, NECC always provides pretty much everything and anything you could ever wish for outside of Northwood winning the grand final every time. But also for Davenport Black, this continues to raise question marks about this roster. I don't know if Shane is with this roster, so that means I don't know if they have a coach anymore. I don't know exactly what's going on with this team.
He is. He's there, but he's busy, I might add. He's not like as active as he used to be.
Yeah, so I'm going to be the first one to say this. Like, okay, Brock, that's a homie of mine. Love Brock to death. But also, ever since they've made roster changes, they brought Byra in to the mix, they have taken a slight step back. And then even when they have this roster of 3 who has now been grinding together for a full year, I haven't seen them move any further. Or sorry, Bolty, I apologize, not Byra. I haven't seen this roster move any further up or down their power ranking. Like, they always seem to sit right in the top 15, just barely sometimes. Like, and that's not what this program should be. Davenport has 2 extremely talented players. Now, granted, I don't know if they're grinding that much, but I'll also say this. If Shane's not in the mix, Cam, as a leader, as a captain, there's questions there. Brock, no major team leading experience, even though he's an incredible dude. I haven't seen him coach or lead a team. And then Bolty is the newest face, and Bolty isn't at a rank X level yet. I think he can get there, but he's still a little ways there. So for Davenport, there's 1,000 question marks. And against a team like Leslie, who even though they are incredible, on paper, you should never lose to this team. 3-1 with the lead, 7-1 in Game 5. It's humiliating.
It was rough in coming back when Davenport stopped finding the success that they had early on against Leslie. But they did come out and kind of disrespect Leslie. And it was working at the start. But then, that's why we play best of sevens. This is why I love best of sevens for these league play formats. Is because Leslie had time to adjust to what Davenport was doing and show that they were the deeper team once you got further and further into that series. And so shout out to Leslie, really, most of all. Like, those guys are an electrifying trio to watch, and the fact that they're all three freshmen is a very cool story. And they also in their victory tweet afterwards, they used my rankings in calling out themselves. Number 26 beating number 11, so I also love them for that. But we also have other pretty big time NECC matchups that happened yesterday. Concord and St. Clair ended up playing, and this wasn't on the mainstream. They had a banger Winthrop Academy versus Bruton Parker Academy series that won all 7 games on the mainstream at this time. But look at this, St. Clair Green. They go, and I'll spoil the NACE segment. They go and lose in 5 games to Cumberland the day prior, and then they come back and they beat Concord in 6 in the NECC here.
I'm going to bite my tongue heavily when it comes to speaking on Concord here, but when it comes to St. Clair, what I will add is they have been extremely inconsistent in their weekly games. It seems like anything outside of weekend-long tournaments, whether they were LAN or CRO qualifiers or anything like that, St. Clair has had some really great wins and some really bad losses in NECC and NACE. So I don't know if they care. I don't know if they put full effort in, but regardless, a big win for them. And who knows exactly, like with Concord, I never know what's going on with the internet. I never know what's going on with the team dynamic. Yeah. Like, I mean, obviously Crispy and CMOS are fresh out of an RLCS push where they were probably about 1 or 2 decent results away from making Boston. Like, don't get me wrong, like, I love those guys to death, but I can never decipher the mental behind either one of these teams. But all that I will say is that Zai is a leader, and you should respect him now. After working with him this last RLCS split, I'll vouch for him any day of the week. You should absolutely put some respect on Zai's name. And if Vesh is playing up to par, St. Clair's a threat. Not just a threat. I think they're a top 4 threat if they're playing up to par. But we'll see how they do against some of the rest of the teams in their group.
Well, rest of the teams, Bruton Parker, they get revenge over Carthage. I'm sure you all remember the data coach segment we did last week on those pair of series that Bruton Parker and Carthage played. So BPCU starting to figure it out a little bit, which is nice to see, considering that a lot of teams with wins against Bruton Parker in that D1 promo tournament and the SEL tier assignment as well kind of teed off on the Barons' weak start. But they got some revenge, and this is a 4-1 for Northwood, which is kind of small potatoes. I think the only story here is Northwood didn't lose a series they're fully expected to win NECC. So they're locked in the NECC. I'm sure they want to win. They want to go to LAN because these guys are quite talented in the main leagues. And so that's what we got for Group B. But Group A was kind of on one last night. And I'll run through the results. We can talk about them after I get them all out. But Kennesaw State, Game 7 win over Ole Miss. Big for KSU. It shows Ole Miss as well is going to start a bit better this semester than they did the last. Oklahoma Christian 4-1 St. Clair Gold. Fisher 4-2 over Akron Gold. And then Indiana Tech playing with a sub. Chippy was in, and I love Chippy, but he's not velocity. They went to 7 with Davenport Red. So that's that result.
Well, I will also say this. You can make an argument that Chippy is close to being a B+, potentially even on his best day, close to a rank A level player. So Chippy is the veteran in the Indiana Tech program right now. If anybody knows the system inside and out, it's him. So of all the subs, I won't call him a super sub, but you know, he's a really talented player. So I'm happy they ended up getting out of that one. Also, Ole Miss and Kennesaw, I mean, in terms of NECC Div 1, I really hate that I don't have a better term for this, but like they're going to have a mid-off every single time. They're both really talented teams, but when it comes to power rankings within NECC, these are teams that are kind of gatekeeping the middle of both groups right now, I would say, especially when playoffs roll around. I put my money on that. But for Kennesaw, that's a really big win because Kennesaw, unlike Ole Miss, plays with different rosters in different leagues. So they're not consistently getting those reps together against these high-level teams. Like Dylan plays for them in the SEL and Flitz doesn't play, versus where NECC, we actually get the full roster. So just the fact that they can have those inconsistencies and still find a win at any cost, that's the bar for them. So I'm glad they can still meet that. Other two results, I'd say, are fairly expected.
Yeah, shout out Akron Gold for getting a couple of games on Fisher, but they're starting off slow in the NECC. They lost to KSU, and it was a pretty dominant series there as well. I think it was 4-1 last week for KSU. Yeah, that's the one I streamed. I want to do this Ole Miss KSU one in place of the Leslie Davenport. That was one of my choices as well, and this was also a banger. But there were so many good ones in Division One last night that I had a tough time choosing. And Division Two as well. Pretty surprising result over an East A, which I know we kind of make fun of for being definitely the weaker of the two Easts. But Conestoga, they beat Fisher Navy. And if you're one of the guys that likes paying attention to top 48s, this was a pretty significant upset.
I think this is also, I haven't seen this result. I apologize for not knowing about this when I was talking about Fisher Navy earlier, but I think this is a pretty bad blow to this team as well. Like, I mean, I'll argue on paper, like, because I always like bringing that up before we get into the nitty gritty. Like, there isn't a world where this Fisher team should lose to Conestoga. And granted, you can even see it in some of the tallies here. Like, even in the goal counts, like Fisher, a dominant 4-1. This is game 2 there, correct?
Yeah, 2 4-1s in a row to start.
Yeah, like, I don't understand. Like, granted, these games are absurdly close. 3-1, 3-2, 3-2, 3-2. Like, don't get me wrong. Absurdly close. But for the skill level that Fisher provides, that consistency needs to be met in these types of series. Best of sevens are extremely dangerous when you are the better team. I will say that now. And for Conestoga, don't get me wrong, they're still talented, but these are the types of teams that are right outside the top 48, where if you let them get into the nitty-gritty, aka the game 5, the game 6, the game 7, and you let this team get on a roll, or you give this team an overtime, it only takes one minute mistake, one crazy ego player, one bad mistouch, and the series is gone. So I don't have the replays for these games, but I put my money on game 4, 5, and 6 being one stupid play that Fisher made that cost them the entire game.
Hey, you said teams right outside the top 48. For both of us, Conestoga's right inside the top 48. They've actually kind of been building something over there. They've been in and out, yeah, but they beat UT Dallas as well as in NACE, which, again, we'll get to. But Conestoga looking pretty good recently. And that's mostly it for East A. East B, though, told you about the banger Winthrop Academy, Burton Parker Academy series that Winthrop Academy got in 7. And Florida Southern take care of business against their UCF boys. And South Carolina, 4-2 over KSUB, a respectable, I think, KSUB. And then this is the big one in East B this week, as Florida, they lose to Daytona State 4-2. It says 5. I don't know why, but 4-2 was the final there. That was streamed last night, and Daytona State did a really great job of limiting Florida's normally very exciting attack the entire series. Larry was pretty much a non-factor until the last couple of games, and that is a big win condition of Florida's that was taken away.
I think it's the dynamic between varsity programs and for club programs as well. Like, Florida has a dynamic. They try to stick to it. They show up, they perform. They're very hype-based. They roll based off momentum, whereas Daytona State, they get I don't want to say a generational player, but in terms of collegiate esports, any Rank X player fits that mold. So you had Ian, you lose Ian, you restructure your entire team in terms of how you're going to decide to move forward. And Daytona State has been hot. Again, it's the dynamic, and you can't compare the grind that a varsity Daytona State who lost their best player has gone through versus a Florida who gets to cruise against much of their common talent, but then comes into NECC and plays their toughest games every single year. So I'm not overly shocked by this result. Florida has been on a decline in both of our rankings, and guess who's been on a rise in both our rankings? It's been Daytona State. So I don't think it's ultra unexpected, but what I will say is, I mean, in general, like, I don't want to go off these stats too hard because some of them get messed up and I don't want to take them at face value.
Yeah.
But when Florida loses these types of games, it normally comes down to a mechanical difference or a team dynamic difference in the midfield, like them not finding each other or Hammy having to solo play on defense too often. But also Daytona State's got enough talent to where they're probably winning their 50s. They're probably playing a really clean game. I would love to see those replays. I'd love to see this team on stream very soon because they seem to be playing fundamental Rocket League to a T.
Well, it's on my ball chasing. If you got nothing to do tonight, TJ, so you can check that one out. Daytona State did impress me there. They have had some rough losses in some qualifiers for lands recently, so I don't think they're gonna shoot up the rankings completely with this one. But it's a good sign. And Solis actually in the post match interview said something that I really liked. That when they brought Ian in, he ended up teaching them a lot about just playing the game at a higher level, and that stuck with him. And I forget who the newer player is between Smoove and Gio, but the two that were there, or no, it was Lefty and Solis, but Solis learned a lot from Ian and then instilled that in Smoove and Gio, and I really liked that take that a good player leaving was actually something that didn't really harm a team, but instead him being there really improved that team. And so Arizona State on the up and up. You all better be paying attention. But we got West Central to go through if Liga West decides to load on up, which it may not. So we might just have to skip West Central this week. But yeah, you have to give me a second to get that up if there was anything actually. West Central
it's probably a Grand Canyon win, and then.
Yeah, there's nothing actually. We had Southeastern Oklahoma State and UND on stream, but like a 4-1 there for SEOU is expected. So let's move along to NACE because we have some exciting results to talk about from the Super Conference where we had this is a round 1 again, but a bunch of game 5s in round 1, and then a couple here in round 2. Cumberland beat St. Clair in 5, and I'll preface this before I start talking about it that I haven't gotten to watch the series yet. This was happening during Tuesday Night Lights, and I had it on the side monitor, but I really can't wait to go back and watch these demos because Cumberland with Hotshot, and maybe this is the starting lineup. This is Hotshot, Polar, and Nex. They've pulled some big wins recently.
Oh. I really wish that we had an official statement from the Cumberland side of things. I am very, very confused as to what they're cooking over there, because that means that there's something going wrong. In terms of drawing conclusions, I'm going to make a stretch here. There must be something going wrong with Polar and one of the other players, because Polar's the only one who's rolling the team, and it shouldn't be questioned regardless, but it hasn't been questioned thus far. But also, I'm very confused as to how St. Clair lose a series like this. Granted, very close games. Who knows kind of if this was a warm-up series for them on the night or if they didn't really warm up at all. But who knows, right? I can never tell with these bigger programs. But big win for Cumberland, who have now gotten wins with a Hotshot Natya Polar roster and have found an equally as big win with hold on now. Next Hot Shot Polar roster. So I'm very lost as to who in the world's gonna play.
Yeah, I still don't know what is really going on in the Cumberland camp at the moment. But hey, if they're getting wins, I'm not going to question things. Like Claypool can run his program however he wants as long as they get wins, and that's kind of been the MO of Cumberland since their inception at the top of esports, even before that and building up to that point. But another series to point out real quick. I'm not gonna recrop these. I'll just have to listen and take my word for it. But this is Winthrop losing to Akron Blue in Game 5, and once again, Phantom is subbed in for Garrett G. We've yet to see Garrett G play in NACE. He's not commuting early on in the semester like he was last semester to play NACE with Winthrop. So we still don't know what Winthrop look like, but they keep losing in Game 5 with Phantom, which shows they're competitive with Phantom, but still not a result that, honestly, I would read too much into. And then this is West Virginia versus Bruton Parker. It was a 3-0, but a close 3-0, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, it sounds about fitting for Bruton Parker. I mean, if they can find ways to play these top 4, top 6, top 8 teams close, then maybe we see a Bruton Parker that's going to actually start to climb into the top 16. Yeah. Maybe they even make league play. Who knows, right? But also for Winthrop's sake, I am just tired of arguing to try and make sure Garrett can play in NACE. So at this point, just get him to show up for playoffs. Like, Phantom's so dang good, and he's the best sub in CRL, top 3, top 4 subs in the entire nation. He's basically a starter at this point.
Yeah.
He's going to get them to playoffs. I'm not worried about that. He'll get them a seed that's doable. For the love of God, just get Garrett to show up for playoffs. I mean, Winthrop can and should be winning, or at least making a final. And if we don't get a Winthrop-Baylor-Garrett final, I'm going to be pretty upset.
we'll have to save that for maybe a CRL semifinal or something like that. But it could happen in NACE too. We'll see. But over in the other divisions of NACE, I'm going to scroll through real quick off screen because there were a bunch of the matchups supposed to be in this round that got rescheduled to other weeks. But we had actually I've got one. This was a kind of funny one actually. James Madison versus Fisher. And what you want to call this Fisher team, I'll let you decide. It's Stolen, Elixir, and Justice. And they win.
Man. So that's Elixir from somewhere in the Fisher program? Because they don't have a C team, do they? Not that I'm aware of.
They do have a C team, yes.
Well, okay. Well, that's really confusing. Well, you know what? The fact that Stolen is still SSL, good for him. Because honestly, I didn't even know he was still grinding like that. Yeah, obviously the big thing in the room is Elixir's GC1. But also, I'll say this: like, I think what's pretty unfortunate is that Justice is probably 2v1 or 1v2ing many of these plays. Like, I really love this James Madison team, but I don't think any one of those players can hold a candle to Justice 9 times out of 10. So unfortunately, I mean, that's granted very close series. I mean, reverse sweep would have been crazy from Gad and them, but yeah, that's one of the Fisher rosters of all time. That's for sure.
And I this actually kind of implores me to look at the other rounds to see if Fisher have played with this team before, because they got a forfeit win. See if they checked in. Okay, everyone's checked in here. Yeah, all right. So I don't know if that's gonna be their roster for the Fisher College RL team in NACE this semester, but I saw that result. I was like, okay, Fisher went to 5 with James Madison. What's going on here? And then it's the A-team coach, one of the A-team players, and a registered GC1. That's a fun little Rocket League moment there. But there was also Conestoga versus UT Dallas, which we don't have to pull up, but game 5 win for Conestoga. There's a reverse sweep attempt by Zora, and they were down by 1, I think, on 0 seconds. UTD was in game 3, and they end up scoring, pushing it to game 5, and then losing, unfortunately, which is so UT Dallas. I can't imagine the emotions after that one. But Conestoga picking up a good win.
Yeah, I mean, the good news for UT Dallas is for your power ranking and your season's sake, a loss to Conestoga is not the worst thing in the world. So, I mean, and Zora also said they went up in game 5 in your chat. So, you know what? They're making the right plays. Like, they're really talented. They're doing what they need to do. Just got to get it over the line. And I think, like, the UTD has been together for so long. Like, they're not the team putting in 90, 100 past 2, and I'm not saying they should be. But once this team gets back into the rhythm of the spring semester, I have no worries about where UTD is going to be. So a loss of Conestoga isn't the end of the world. It's not going to hurt them in the long run. They should be just fine.
Yeah, and game 5 loss, not a big deal. But also Zora, shout out to him for going to Cumberland next semester for his graduate degree. So we'll be seeing him change schools, but still stay in a competitive program, which is very exciting. So congrats to you, Zora. Looking forward to watching you in the next stage, but we'll talk more about that over the summer. Right now, moving along to the other Alphabet Soup leagues. I'm gonna start in PEC because we actually had a ranked matchup, and I don't know why this didn't get reported on League OS, but it was a 3-0 or 3-1 for Baylor. I forget which one it was, but pretty commanding. I think Michigan State, if they did win a game, it was game 3. But now I watched this on stream, like on a side monitor while watching other broadcasts. So Baylor, another win in the PEC. They are undefeated, I think, to no one's surprise.
Yeah, I mean, there's really not much for me to really add to this. Like, if Michigan State got a game, that's a really good sign because they lost their best player, who they only had for a short amount of time anyways. So, if so, great. But for Baylor, like, with all due respect to everybody in the Power Esports Conference, Baylor should be steamrolling. That's an RLCS team. And even though they had very, very up and down performances together, they are one of the better teams in CRL by a mile. So I don't really have much to add. If you are not 3-0ing or 3-1ing every week, there's an issue.
It was a 3-0. I guess I just positively imagined the Michigan State game. But here are the scores. Shout out to Pac-Man for putting these in a ball chasing folder. But all 1-goal games. Should add all 1-goal games. Michigan State keeping it close with Baylor in the PEC. But that's the only PEC result that we're going to talk about. Good luck to all the teams competing this weekend at that Hawaii land. I think it's a Vanta event is what it is, and then they've I guess partnered with the PEC to send teams there. I'm not sure what the logistics are on that front, but we got ECAC to talk about. I really never say that because there's some actual good series in the ECAC this week, or this past week rather, as Bruton Parker. We'll talk about that in a second. But Ball State Black and Akron Gold, all 7 games. TJ, battle of the B teams, and Ball State Black come out on top here.
I'm sure BK is going to have a field day talking about this result. I mean, there was a lot of questions we asked ourselves regarding with both these teams making big moves where they both get players from the A team and they bring them down to their B team rosters. What result comes out of it? And it seems like whenever you compare Patty versus Wova and the development between these two programs, it seems like Ball State Black has got it for now. But I expect that if these rosters get to see each other again, which I really hope we do, because we should be seeing these teams in at least one land this year or two. We should be seeing them go against each other, I hope. I hope that throughout their leagues together, we see them in playoffs again. I'm really, really excited to watch those two go head-to-head because they are neck and neck, and it is absurdly close.
Unfortunately, I think that might be the only time we get to see them, or one of the only times, because the ESC, which is their conference in NACE, only does the fall semester, and so that's how Ball State actually locked in a spot at CECC, and so I don't think there's a spring semester where the B teams could be playing, and then CCS, only Akron Gold is competing. I think the Ball State C team is playing in CCS this semester, so hopefully we get some matchups there in like just CRL brackets or something of the sort. Otherwise, unfortunately, it won't be seeing them play as much this semester. But real quick, for those that were taken aback for a second, like I was, even though I already saw this result and I knew it wasn't something, this is the Fisher C team, the aforementioned Fisher C team. TJ, that got swept by Bruton Parker. I wish we could label our teams properly, but just click on the series, I guess.
Well, when it comes to organization and college esports groups who are good at that, I'm just going to bite my tongue on that one there. But yeah, I mean, nothing to read into. I'm not really sure why, like with all due respect to the Fisher Rocket League program, I'm not sure why your ECAC, is that the only roster representing Fisher in ECAC?
I think so, yeah.
I'm not sure how they're even in the same division as Bruton Parker. I mean, there must have been an issue with the tournament, or like they must have placed Fisher in that group thinking of another team. Like something went wrong there, because like with all due respect to Kevin and Elixir, like I don't see how that team is fit to be in that division. But I don't know.
Well, the ECAC website just went down, so that may conclude our coverage of the ECAC results this past week. So we actually try to give ECAC a good bit of the spotlight because they had some interesting results to talk about, and their website goes down. This is actually priceless. I felt bad about all the shade that I give ECAC, and then they do this to us mid podcast. So this has been a bad semester for tournament organization platforms. I mean, Rally Cry I'm already not a huge fan of when it comes to how their websites are oriented. League Spot I definitely hate, and I've been vocal about. League OS I like how it looks, and then they came out with V2, which I don't like how it looks or works this semester. It's been a mess on that front. Someone's got to come out and actually give us a good tournament organization platform, because even StartGG is probably the best when it comes to just getting your hands on it and doing stuff at a functional level. But even then, there's so many limitations to start, and that's my soapbox on tournament organization platforms. So I don't know if you've got strong opinions on that like I do.
I don't. I think I'm going to get us both canceled if I start talking about V2. So I'm just going to...
Anyway. Albright and KSU B 3-0 here, and Kennesaw State B I was actually kind of getting excited about. They've been playing some close series with top 48 teams. They were like my number 49 in my rankings this week, but they got smoked by Albright here, who I'm hoping that Albright continue their form from fall. This is an optimistic result. for me, because they should be blowing out a KSU B team if they're going to be contending with the top 32 like they were during their fall CRL runs. But PCL is the only league that Albright's playing in, so unfortunately we don't get to watch them actually play any good series until later on in the season. I'll check on their group real quick to see who their best series might be against. But I'm excited about this Albright team. When I watched them, I think they beat Akron Gold on my stream in a CRL brackets. They are a fun squad to watch. Very speedy, and the fact that they've got more experience under their belts as a trio now, I think they're going to be a team to watch out for outside of PCL, because their highest quality series are going to be Northwood, Cincinnati, and RIT.
Yeah, I mean, and I'll say this, if my notes are correct, I believe that Albright roster is pretty young. I believe they are all freshmen or sophomores.
No, I forget which one it is, if it's Froze or Frost, but he played at Seton Hall for a couple of years back when Seton Hall was good, and so he's got experience. I forget which one, but I think the other two are young.
That's what I'm thinking, because Flo is somebody who I recognize personally, and that's one player that I can speak on, playing with and against in ranked. Very talented. Like you mentioned, very quick, very fast player. And the reason why I was bringing up the age group difference is because if they play with that kind of, I don't want to say rambunctious because that's corny, if they play with this careless style, it would make sense. But maybe they have a perfect combination of older fundamentals and that new gen Epic Games launcher play style. So fair play to Albright, defending their spot in the top 48 pretty comfortably there. I mean, those scores were pretty nuts. I'm not, I wish Dylan was here to provide some extra context on that one, but that's a tough loss.
I mean, KSUB has always been kind of up and down, but we'll see if they can keep going up. But Froze is the ex-Seton Hall player. Shout out to Wace for the trivia right there. But those are all the notable results. Shout out ECAC for cutting us short right there, but is what it is. Let's talk LAN coverage, because the Tri-Cities Slam LAN qualifiers have gone on. I think we haven't actually covered any of the qualifiers on stream when it comes to results, because last Tuesday was the first one. That would have been right after our last recording. So let's run through the quals real quick. Shout out the teams that did end up making it to Tri-Cities, being hosted by East Tennessee State in Johnson City, and that'll be coming up in about 3 weeks or so. It's that first weekend of March. So that's coming up quick. But Concord will be there, confirmed, not playing under the Concord banner. I don't know what their name will have to be on links. I don't think this name's going to be allowed. But they ended up making it. A little bit of trolling against James Madison, but hey, that's what they do. They play some extra games of Rocket League. And then Winthrop Academy, they made it as well through the upper bracket here. Indiana Tech made it, and Bruton Parker qualified. First 4 through to TCS.
Well, I'll say this first as well. I mean, knowing Jeff and how great that ETSU and how much fun that the program has, I actually think Concord probably will get to be represented.
You think so?
They can't beat Concord, so that's already off the table. Don't get me started on that. But I don't think I think they're going to get away with this name, and I think they're unironically going to win the event under this name. I'm going to say that now. Now we're going to talk about the other teams who made it, and so we're going to get there. I think the biggest issue that I have with Qual 1 is James Madison. They play a Concord that starts trolling. They almost get it done in Game 3. Then they go down to losers. Go Game 5 Bruton Parker JV. Beat that team. Barely. So they won 2 in a row to get out of that series alive. And then they get not just Game 5 again with Florida. Bepic, they got reverse swept by Florida. This was the biggest heartbreak of the entire night. I watched this live, and it was so sad.
Yeah, I thought they were gonna make it, and then Florida just that one little spark lit the Gators on fire. But this was a crazy conclusion to the bracket, because yeah, Game 5 up here, Winthrop Academy in Florida, I streamed that one, and then they come down here, Game 5 with Northeastern, James Madison goes to 5, and they go to Game 5. Well, Conestoga's in Game 5 with UTD JV, who went on a run from the first round of the lower bracket. UTD JV actually kind of a legit threat to some of these teams. Yeah. Like Conestoga was kind of fortunate to get out of that series, the ETD JV. So shout out to the boys over there. They were 1 game away from qualifying Qual 1, but Florida and Conestoga are the other 2 teams that make it through Qual 1. You want me to move on? TJ, you got more thoughts on the first qual?
Very 2 quick things, because we have 2 more quals to go through. Biggest disappointments coming out of this specific qualifier. Georgia State Oklahoma. No idea what happened to those two teams. They also had beef in the Discord for a little bit, so that was really funny to watch. Those two were easily the biggest kind of negatives coming out of this event. Also, a positive that we didn't get to talk about, Northeastern had a fairly decent showing.
Yeah.
Harlequin has rebuilt that roster around him, and I played them. They're decent. Now, granted, I don't think they're the Game 5 Florida type of decent. They're good, but Florida must have had a really weird night that night going double Game 5, or triple Game 5s, I should say. But Northeastern, a positive. Oklahoma, Georgia State, big negatives.
Well, moving on to Qual 2, see if they get a chance to make up for it. Buddy's ring finger is on his keyboard hand is broken as well, I should add, when discussing that Georgia State is in a bit of poor form at the moment. But is what it is. This was last Thursday, this qualifier. Akron Glue made it. That is Bullseye, Patty, and Melio. So the team that we're used to being Akron Glue. They qualify. KSU B end up qualifying over UTD and Northeastern. And this is the UTD Senior Center team that is the main starting roster when they're allowed to play under the UTD banner. And then WCTC end up qualifying over BPCU JV. And James Madison pull off a couple of pretty good wins over Shawnee State and Daytona State to make it to land. Pretty wild upper bracket here.
Yeah, the 3-0 over Daytona State, I think, is one of those shock results. I'll also throw this into the mix as well. Kennesaw Premier B, obviously, they went on an incredible run. This is, I think, the best that specific roster has been this entire time. Now, in terms of previous question marks that got answered in this qual, I was going to wait and mention the Buddy RV broken finger because Georgia State actually had a pretty decent run through uppers, taking down Oklahoma in the rematch and then going one game away from taking down Akron Glue. So that's why I was going to wait to mention it, but fair play to the broken finger Buddy RV. UNC Charlotte, fairly tough time, but Indiana Tech B, sleeper roster, so fair play. And then we get the battle of two SEL classics in losers bracket where we got UTD versus UNCC, and they went all the way to game 3. Very good game. And outside of that, everything was pretty standard. Qual matches were pretty entertaining. UTD Senior Center gets the Game 5 win over Daytona State. Like, unexpected, in my opinion, game there. And then Georgia State makes a run all the way through losers, even taking down Bruton Parker JV. So, huge bounce back for the Panthers. And then, I'm not going to lie, Northeastern, in my opinion, got a pretty open run, got a pretty lucky losers bracket. But granted, the reason why they got this, in my opinion, both UTA and UTD JV lost way too early, in my opinion. Lost to CSUN for UTD JV, who was on a tear last qual, and then Kaiser gets the win over UTA, who was not playing well last qual, and then picked it up just to lose to Shawnee. So very odd top 48 type of event right here.
I mean, on paper, though, like beating UNCC, that's a good win for Northeastern. On paper, beating Shawnee State is a good win, but these teams have been looking a little bit down to start spring compared to what we saw from them last semester. But it's worth noting as well, Zora reminded me of this. This is not the Kennesaw State B team. They've got TNT playing in place of Clixie here. So just note that as well when looking at this pair of results for UT Dallas and Northeastern. But we'll move along to Qual 3. Shout out to UTD, Northeastern, WCTC, James Madison, KSUB with TNT, and Akron Glue for making it. And then going over to the third qualifier, things got crazy in lowers because we had a lot of extra series to play. But this qual had Fisher and Oklahoma Christian, and they had 0 issues qualifying for LAN. Daytona State also made it with a fairly easy run, getting through Clemson and Shawnee State. And CSUN actually ended up qualifying through Texas Tech, Indiana, with a sub in place of Coda, which is the big asterisk there. But still, a good win for CSUN with the 3-0, and they'll be heading to LAN.
Well, and I can add some context for Indiana as well. So one of my good friends who is on the Indiana team, that would be, well, really all of them are really great, but MST is a good friend of mine. I talked with him the night of when registration was supposed to close. Indiana failed to register for Queen City Clash, a LAN that they would have for certain been a top 3 seed at once they qualified. They wouldn't have dropped a game, in my opinion. And they unfortunately did not sign up for it, completely messed up the start GG there. And then I told them, well, there's at least another event you could try and qual for. So then they reach out to Nutty and ETSU. They get registered, and then they get upset by CSUN. And again, you mentioned with a sub, but like Indiana went through the ringer in the span of 1 week, and they now miss out on both lands in the same time period. So that storyline really, really stinks.
Well, the lower bracket, some more positivity for UTD JV especially. They end up qualifying, going through the Indiana team without Coda. They beat Clemson as well, Kentucky, and then Indiana Tech B to make it here to the Tri-Cities Slam land. So shout out to both UTD teams that'll be making it. And Zora, if you're still in chat, can I show on stream the logo that you're trying to use, because Dallas isn't paying for the UTD squad to go to this land, but they're still planning on going. And Zora put together a really nice logo. So I'll show that in a second, TJ, if you want to give me your reactions to the top side of the bracket where stuff really got bloody.
Yeah, well, I'm concerned for this logo, first of all, because I have not seen it. But yeah, you want to talk about bloody? There is a lot of negative to talk about, alongside some very glaring positives with Northern Illinois and UTD JV making it. So first, here is what I will say. We have not seen Northern Illinois get to compete at a LAN and showcase their talents on a LAN in so dang long. So for Storm, Hawk, and Hertz, I'm very excited to actually see them get to play, and they're going to have a big chance to prove themselves from a PR ranking side of things. Now, outside of that, Shawnee State has been absurdly up and down this year, had a decent result by beating UTD JV in uppers, and then even got a game off Daytona State, but unfortunately couldn't get it done in losers. That's a pretty tough pull to have to play Northern Illinois. But man, Bruton Parker JV, like, Manny is doing everything he can to lead this team, but unfortunately there comes a wall within the top 32, the top 48 teams that I think this team's going to hit consistently, and this was a very unfortunate example of it going against Northern Illinois. But regardless, decent win over Kaiser, who's been up and down as well. And then, of course, UTD JV, a very good run. That Clemson team is not easy to play. They find a way to scrape wins out of nowhere. And it was a best of 3. So for UTD JV, really big test there. And then Indiana, clean sweep, or not a clean sweep because obviously the games were close, but like 3-0, a seemingly clean sweep over a very talented Indiana team. Again, even with a sub, that's a very tough win to get. And then Indiana Tech B, I think one of the bigger sleeper rosters in the scene right now, especially in terms of the top 48, another trio. So UTD JV on fire. I believe they're the only school who's sending 2 teams to this LAN, and they deserve it. I mean, what a spin for UTD JV. This is a level of program dominance and highlight that I don't think we've gotten to see out of them in a little bit. So really excited for both those Rocket League teams to be together.
Well, hold on. There's another school that's sending 2 teams, because after these 2 series were played, the final spot was filled with a tiebreaker match between Bruton Parker JV and Indiana Tech's B team. And Bruton Parker JV ended up winning that and going to LAN over Indiana Tech. Yeah, so they got the last spot there, and so it's 2 schools. It's Bruton Parker and UT Dallas, who are going to be rocking with this logo at the LAN. They are going to be UT didn't get funding, and so they don't have money as indicated by the logo.
I think most B teams get burned at the stake for this. I'm not gonna lie. So you know what, Zora? I hope this gets approved, and I hope you guys get the. You know what? Make T-shirts with this logo if you really want to go the extra mile. I mean, if you want to show the school, they got to support their students. More power to you, dude. I'll be a spokesperson right next to y'all. That's hilarious. I love that. That's really art. That's big art right there.
Did it get approved? I was looking in chat to see if they confirmed it.
Come on, Jeff.
I hope that gets approved by the UT Dallas program, but still fantastic logo, and that is the TCS qual land. Okay, he's not gotten a response yet on whether it's approved or not, so we're all gonna cross our fingers for you, Zora, because I think everyone wants to see that logo on LAN. But there is another LAN happening. Queen City Clash. We just talked about that. We're gonna run through the qualifier results here because it's not quite as big a LAN as TCS is, both with prize pool and with quality teams, which kind of go hand in hand. But still, some notable names that will be attending. Bruton Parker is right up there. Got Purdue that qualified. UTK retirement home. They're QCC legends. Those boys. I think Joe Bro's been to probably the last 4 QCCs. I think every single one in his collegiate career. So they'll be headed there. Indiana Tech B beat Shawnee State. Again, Shawnee State, really, really rough stretch at the moment. They can't beat any teams either inside or on the fringe of the top 48 at the moment. And you got Bruton Parker JV down here, UCF getting a win, I guess a forfeit win, and then KSUB make it, and UCF Academy make it. So some decent names here.
Yeah, well, and also Shaka has also let us know that Tennessee is 3-0 at QCC. Now, granted, I will say this. I think this right here will be Tennessee's hardest QCC, because even though Queen City Clash is always a really good top 48, top 32-ish LAN, they are a really good B-tier event for this side of CRL. This is not going to be a freebie. I mean, there's some sleeper rosters in the mix of things, not to mention, like, there is a Purdue who had a pretty decent bracket in Qualifier 1, but didn't really drop a single. Yeah, they actually really only dropped 1 game at the very beginning. Indiana Tech B, I'm going to talk highly on that roster until they start getting consistently upset. Not to also mention that in Qualifier 2 and 3, there's some other sleeper rosters, but here I'll finish up real quick with Qual 1. Bruton Parker JV, can't sleep on them by any means. Let's see here. UCF finds a win over Shawnee. That is an incredibly rough loss for them. That's a crazy win for UCF. Good for them. Kennesaw Premier B over Texas Tech. I did get to see this one kind of live, a little delayed. So good for Kennesaw Premier B over Texas Tech. That's a pretty good win. And then even UCF Academy finds a way into this one. And that team you can't sleep on by any means either. So I'm excited to see all these Qualifier 1 teams. I think they're all going to be very strong. And then we can move on if you would like.
Yeah, I mean, Qual 2 didn't really have anything too crazy.
Just
Ohio
South
State,
Carolina and
UGA, Akron Whites, UCF. The WKU also made it here because of the qualified L, and Michigan, they also made it. So yeah, nothing too wild. Qualifier 3. See if we get anything here. Shawnee State do end up making it. They went to Game 5 against Central Michigan. I didn't actually see this
Game
result.
Game 5, Qual 3.
That's well, I guess this was a seeding match, maybe, unless they just reported it. It looks like they played it out. So still, Game 5 with CMU, and then we got South Carolina qualifying as well without too much hassle, but you got UC qualifying as well. UC Red, I should add, and then UTK. This is the UTK roster of last semester with Kung, Jeezy, and Agonized. They're the UTK Bingo Ballers, following in the footsteps of Shaka, Joe Bro, Crisp, and Taibu, using different names while not being an active A team for UTK.
And they're probably the only school who can just kind of come up with these players who aren't playing officially for the school and just send teams to land. Yeah. So big credit to Tennessee. And also that's it's the reunite of this old UTK A team who was the prior A team to the Taibu led roster. So it'll be fun to see them get to play together. I mean, I know those guys extremely personally. I think they all play very differently now than they did last year. Also, we don't have to pull up Qual 3. I was just going to very quickly go over the teams who made it out of that one alive. Western Kentucky Red, pretty decent team. I've played them multiple times. They're your average ranked B team. They're not bad. UCF Knights Rising, about the same story there. Ohio State Gray, they've always been at QCC as the gatekeeping ranked B team. They're funny to watch. Love those guys. And then Georgia through losers without me, by the way. They did that all by themselves. They looked great that night. I'm not gonna lie.
They don't need you.
Hey, I wasn't going to go to Cincinnati anyways. I don't have the money for it, so I won't be there, unfortunately. And then even Akron White denies Kentucky of a spot, which is a pretty interesting result. I mean, Kentucky's got the talent, but Shocks is a pretty dang good player on Akron White, and I don't know much about the other two, but I know Shocks is pretty dang good. The only thing I will say is that if you're looking for the polar bear in Arlington, Texas, there is one team at this event who is not at all like the others.
Oh, great.
Michigan made it. Remind me of the last time you heard of a Michigan Rocket League team at all.
BEC LAN are just competing in BEC, and CCS, I think sometimes, but yeah, they made it.
So good for them. Good. I mean, now granted, I mean they got to play Ohio State in the winter semi. Like, good. That's a great little fun matchup, even though it didn't really change much for their seeding. Really, really funny to watch them go head to head. But also, Michigan State kind of did the ringer. They played a kind of struggling, rebuilding Grand Valley State. Arkansas State, a team who I did not know anything about, almost made it. So a very odd section of the bracket here, but then you're probably wondering, well, TJ, how did this even happen? Well, there's one team who missed out on Qual 1 and 2 who DQ'd out of Qual 3. Like for Texas Tech, if they would have just showed up, I think they don't drop a game. So I don't know what happened to poor Wilds, Bramble, and Captain Roar, but that's a very, very like QCC high seed in the pool, guaranteed land spot. And I don't use that word lightly. I don't know what happened, man. I can't believe they DQ'd.
Long ways to travel. I don't know. Maybe the $1,000 in prizing isn't enough for Texas Tech to get all the way up there. That's what happens with some of these like kind of mid-major lands in CRL. But qualifier for what should be the major land this semester, CECC East Region quals were, well, I think this is just the first weekend of competition to qualify you to weekend number 2, but over here, the only significant result from this bracket, because Syracuse was playing with a sub, here is Mount Aloysius over Maryland. This is actually a pretty good win for Mount Aloysius. So I don't think either of us had ranked quite yet, waiting for sort of a win like this. And I missed it before I did my rankings, unfortunately, which I wish I had seen this beforehand. But hey, shout out the Mounties there for getting the shot against, it was still Tiz, Lesser, and then a B team player playing in this series, which if I click this, we'll see what it brings me to. Yeah, okay, Nano, Lesser, and Tiz were the ones that were playing, because I think Gibby was traveling for something, and Mount Aloysius ended up beating that team.
And we rarely get to see Mount Aloysius play in anything at all. Yeah. So good for them for finding a win here. That's definitely going to give them a slight bump. But also, I'll say this as well. Granted, the skill level that is on that Aloysius team, Syracuse, given the amount that they talk and the amount that they play and the amount that they perform, even with a sub, which Nano is a decent player, by the way. And he's your average rank B, kind of lowest cell type of player. He's good. I don't see why they lose that. But I mean, you know, these quals never go to plan. These quals are always a mess, and we can keep moving.
Yeah, nothing really in the other bracket either. But Syracuse with that sub, while you're talking about it, did end up going down to the lower bracket and losing to Maryland in Game 7. So they miss out on the CECC East shot that they would have had against Fisher this weekend. But is what it is. They should still qualify with the ACC, or it's ACEC in CECC for esports.
Put it in the soup. Put it in the soup.
Well, I mean, it's the ACC Traditional Sports Conference tournament that CECC hosts for ACC teams. It was, I think Pitt got the bid last year, so I think Syracuse will be playing in it this year, if I were to guess. But yeah, the East Region qualifier, I'm gonna see if I can find if they've got the bracket out for this weekend, because it's going to be like Fisher, Leslie, Maryland, and Mount Aloysius competing in that bracket. But it's not out yet, so we'll cover it. And it's not this weekend either. It's February 21st and 22nd. Sorry about that. There's 2 weeks in between. So yeah, I just wanted to keep you all updated on all of that. But I think it's time to get to our accolades of the week, TJ. If you've got some you want to distribute, I know I do. We've been skipping.
I did update mine.
Okay. Well, I know we've missed out on the last couple weeks of accolades. We've had busy shows prior to this week, so I think it's time, with the season back in full swing, to start giving some accolades back out to teams. And so let's start with the teams of the week, then we'll do the players after this, because I think this is a really easy start for me. My team of the week, the Collegiate exclusive team of the week, is Cumberland. Their win over St. Clair makes it so easy to pick them. But at the same time, like, Hotshot has been put into this starting lineup, hasn't had a solid duo they've been playing with, outside of just Polar being there with the next tonight rotation in and out of the starting lineup. And they've beaten Akron, they've beaten East Tennessee State, they've beaten St. Clair now, and with those wins on your resume already, I don't think you can say anymore that Cumberland are a bottom of the table team when you're looking at the top 25. This team is actually legit.
And I'll add on to that with my player, just because obviously they will go hand in hand, and then we'll circle back. The easiest pick I've had in a long time for player of the week is Hotshot. We both had pretty big question marks. I know that my question marks were a little bigger than yours regarding how this team would play. How would they look? Now, granted, I say it with a grain of salt because they do still have a long way to go. They still have to actually figure out who's going to play. Then they have to adapt to style, all in time to qualify for CRL and then actually thrive and survive in CRL. No guarantees there, but Hotshot is my Season 2 for the very first time in Season 2. My player of the week. Extremely deserved. Again, had huge question marks, but he has really stepped up to the plate.
Yeah, and then player of the week, I'm going to do two. I'm gonna add one at the last second here because I put my player of the week down when we were still planning on recording on Tuesday after his NECC performance on the mainstream in Game 7, put up 4 goals to pull his team back from a 3-0 deficit at the start of a Game 7. That's Larry. And then he struggled a bit on my stream last night in the NECC, and so it's he's not the player of the week for his Daytona State performance, but against Florida Southern, he went off in Game 7. Watched that on stream on Monday. And man, that was an insane Larry performance. Lit a fire and was hitting some bangers. So like the series winning goal was him like catching the ball with forward momentum and hitting a double tap at lightning fast pace, nailing the top right corner where it was unsavable for the FSC defense. That's in Game 7 to win it at the very end of regulation. So shout out Larry, and I'm gonna shout out Collegiate as well for his performance last night against Davenport. Normally it's Swaz we'll be talking about on the Leslie side, but Collegiate was the superstar yesterday. Swaz was still doing a lot in terms of facilitating and finding demos. Really selfless, talented player. But everyone on Leslie was having their moment with the demos, and Collegiate had the most moments on the ball, scoring electrifying goals for Leslie. So shout out to him and Larry, my 2 CEP players of the week.
All right, well, here we go. Buckle in for this one.
All right.
So this is more of a prediction and a team of the week. And I'm getting this on the record now because whenever Sunday rolls around, with all the teams missing out, with all the teams who are going to be only showing up for qualifier 2, there is one team with the skill level I still believe to this day could make a big run. And it is February 12th. At 6 o'clock Eastern time, let it be known that I am predicting Tennessee Retirement Home. Not only is my team of the week for their obvious performances, getting back into the mix, getting back qualified for LAN events, but also I think they're going to make the top 16. I will stand on it right now. They're going to make the cut, and I think they can do it in losers of Qual 1. So getting that down on paper, live on the stream right now, that's about as credible as a prediction as you're going to get from me. The UTK Retirement Home, my team of the week.
So you're saying they make top 16 of league play, or do you mean they make the top 16 of this qualifier being like one series short?
I'll clarify. So it is February 12th at 6 o'clock.
Okay.
UTK Retirement Home makes CRL league play. That is where I'm going. Not top 16 of the qualifier. They're going to make it into league play.
All right. Sounds good. You heard it here first, everybody. Let's see if that happens. The scenes that would mean one of like Davenport, Indiana Tech, Akron, Boise, George Mason, that kind of pool of teams wouldn't make it. Like that's my 14 through 18 right now. And so UTK Retirement Home would pop up over it. And TJ's dropped the mic and just completely lost his camera feed. So we've lost TJ. He's made his soothsaying prediction that UTK Retirement Home is going to make it to the CRL and just completely left the podcast. So good luck, Shaka. You got some work to do this weekend. I totally forgot to even change the scene. TJ, are you still there? All right, we just lost TJ. All right, well, we were going to do rankings at this point in the show, but once again, we might actually have the podcast end because of technical difficulties. Last week, my hard drive was filling up, and so my hard drive filled up, and so technical difficulties caused Discord to lag out and my stream to start buffering. And so we're just gonna can it now. If you want my top 48, I did a stream on it on Monday. I'm gonna post my revised list on Sunday before the CRL big bracket comes out. Colleague should also be doing a poll this weekend, so I'll post my list that I submit for that. So you'll have a chance to see our top 48s for sure. But final 0 second of the podcast. Throw them up real quick. Well, they're not fully edited from last night's results, so I'm not gonna put them up yet because I don't want them to be taken out of context because they're not fully edited. I didn't have time to fully change them and look at all the results from last night. So it's like Monday's list mishmashed with Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday results. So we'll come back to it. Don't worry. KSUB though is still number 49 for me, Dylan. I don't know if you guys have cracked into the top 48 just yet, but hey, maybe next week. We'll see what happens in CRL on Sunday. I'll be streaming it. Make sure you follow. Make sure you have notifications on. I try to have fun with my my stream notifications, so you're in for a treat if you do. But that'll do it for the 3rd episode of Season 2 of the Collegiate Exclusive Podcast. As always, thank you to all of you fantastic people that tuned in tonight. Shout out my co-host TJ, who has finally been engulfed by the void that's been creeping up on him these last couple of weeks in his new apartment. But we're gonna end the stream here. No show matches, no nothing afterwards. I go cast for the Northeastern Esports League, and TJ's got some homework to do. So I'm gonna see you all next week. We should be back on Tuesday to recording the Collegiate Exclusive Podcast. Bye, everyone. Have a good night.